Hey YouTube, so I'm trying something a bit different with this video. I've been thinking a lot about how I can contribute value to the platform while also creating content that I'm interested in. And recently I realized that, at least at the moment, there aren't any good bite-sized recurring segments that cover AI news. So I'm going to try this out for a few weeks and I'd love to get your feedback in the comments below. Now, in today's episode, I have 5 articles I'm going to cover. First, we'll talk a bit about some recent developments at Google. We'll talk about the potential privacy implications of training AI models, AI's shortcomings in radiological image detection, and then finally we'll end on the ethics of AI-generated images. So let's go ahead and get started. So for our first story, we find Google in somewhat of an existential crisis. Since the viral release of ChatGPT less than a month ago, many have speculated that Google's internet search dominance might be at risk. Well, now it appears that Google leadership is holding emergency meetings to discuss exactly that. An unnamed Google executive is cited by the New York Times as having said that technology like ChatGPT could upend Google's business, which relies heavily on ads and e-commerce embedded in Google search. The concerns rise all the way to the top of Google leadership, as Sundar Pichai has pulled numerous groups together to discuss the organization's AI strategy. Now, it's worth noting that Google has been working on AI for quite some time, but has held back on public releases due to the fears for the potential of racism, bias, and misinformation seeping into training datasets and warping the AI. At the end of the day, the primary fear for Google here is the inability to include ads the same way that they do now, if forced to adopt a ChatGPT-esque model. We can ask ourselves, what would a Google-less world look like? And would it be a bad thing if we were served less ads? Maybe we find out the answers to those questions sooner than we think. Continuing on the Google track, for our second story we have a breakthrough in AI model efficiency called Confident Adaptive Language Modeling, or CALM, which was detailed on Google AI's blog on December 16, 2022. The new system speeds up large language models like ChatGPT without sacrificing performance. What's interesting here is that the larger the data set that we train models on, the more likely it becomes that we see what machine learning scientists call emergent abilities. Effectively, the AI can now learn how to do things that we didn't specifically teach it to do. For example, translating text between languages. These emergent properties are not well understood, but what is clear is that more data equals more emergent abilities and more robust models. The issue with this, though, is that the larger the language model is, the slower it becomes when humans ask it to do something, because it's sifting through all of the data points that it's been trained on to return the best result. So the innovation that Google brings here with Calm can be analogized through the difference in how humans answer both easy and difficult questions. Easy questions flow naturally, or with little thought, while difficult questions require a fair amount of cognitive load. So what Google researchers did with Calm was to dynamically allocate resources depending on the complexity of an input, and by using an algorithm to predict whether something needs full or partial resources. An exciting development, to say the least. For our third story, we find iRobot in hot water, as pictures of a woman on a toilet taken by one of their robot vacuums found their way onto Facebook. The question that this story poses is one of boundaries, in a world where AI and data collection become almost omnipresent. Now, it's worth noting that the vacuum in question was part of a development program, and not a standard issue consumer model. So, as part of this development program, photos captured by the device were sent to a startup called Scale AI, who in turn contracted with workers around the world to label these photos to help train AI models. While most pictures were expectedly mundane, some, quite clearly, were not. To partake in this development program meant agreeing to terms of service and sharing data back with iRobot for product improvement, which meant that technically, iRobot had user consent to capture data from these development robots wherever they were in use. The idea with this AI vacuum is not only to improve robot vacuums, but also enable robots in the future that may do other things. Ultimately, this set of sensitive images represents something more insidious than any one individual company's actions. They speak to a widespread and growing practice of sharing potentially sensitive data to train algorithms, as well as the surprising, globe-spanning journey that a single image can take. In this case, from the homes in North America, Europe, and Asia, to the servers of Massachusetts-based iRobot, and from there to San Francisco-based Scale AI, and finally to Scale AI's contracted workers around the world, where, in this case, Venezuelan gig workers posted the images in question to private groups on Facebook, Discord, and elsewhere. Together, the images reveal a little-known data supply chain and new points where our personal information can easily leak out into the public. Jessica Vitak, an information scientist and professor at the University of Maryland, aptly noted that we treat robots differently than we treat humans, as it's much easier for us to accept a cute little vacuum moving around our private spaces than it would be for a human walking around with a camera. In this case, it seems those lines may be blurring. Certainly, an interesting predicament to think about. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Our fourth story today covers AI's test-taking capabilities. Now, for quite some time, it's been known that AI and machine learning are helpful tools for image recognition, and progress in this space has only accelerated in recent years. Not only that, but recent versions of AI, like ChatGPT, have performed better than expected on a variety of tests. So it's no surprise that, in the Christmas issue of BMJ, the Fellowship of the Royal College of Radiologists shared that they put AI to the test once again. This time, to see if it would be able to pass the same level of radiology examination that humans must take in the UK to become certified radiologists. Each mock examination given to the AI consisted of 30 radiographs, or radiological images, to detect anomalies of the same or higher level of difficulty expected on the real FRCR exam. To pass, candidates must score a 90% or above, correctly identifying 27 of the 30 images in under 35 minutes. The AI candidate in question had been trained to assess chest and bone radiographs for several conditions including fractures, swollen and dislocated joints, and collapsed lungs. When uninterpretable images were excluded from the analysis, the AI candidate achieved an average score of 80%, but was only able to pass or score above 90% on 2 of the 10 attempts it was given. The human radiologist that took part in the study received an average of 85%, passing 4 of the 10 tests. The moral of this story? AI is quickly becoming a valuable tool, but human input, at least for now, is still critical. Our final story in today's segment yet again highlights one of the many moral quagmires that AI is beginning to pose to society. In this case, if we have the ability to generate images with AI, should we be able to generate any image that we'd like to without any sorts of filters or guidelines for moderation? That's precisely what a new campaign on Kickstarter was proposing earlier this month, with what they called unstable diffusion. The group described its pitch as working towards, quote, the development of open-source, community-first AI models that will achieve the dream of 1 billion people exploring and creating art with nothing but their imagination. This revolution in human expression will be equivalent to the invention of the printing press, or of the internet. AI that allows anyone to make art. End quote. Now, elsewhere, the team had lamented, quote, the last company to release open-source AI image models has succumbed to pressure and released a heavily neutered version of their previous models. End quote. Basically, TechCrunch reports, these guys are just frustrated that existing AI-generated image models won't allow them to generate explicit content. So they want to build a community to help them achieve that goal. The issue with this is not just the sensitive nature of the content, but also that AI doesn't understand things like age and could be used to generate explicit content that could also be technically classified as illegal. Well, Unstable Diffusion landed at the right time to be the campaign to get Kickstarter looking at their own policies on the matter. The crowdfunding platform is yet to release firm guidelines. However, they did release a statement suggesting that they will, at least for now, err on the side of caution and support creative works by humans rather than AI. This statement was released at the same time that Unstable Diffusion's campaign on Kickstarter was suspended. So, what do you think? Should we work to ensure AI is a tool that can only be used for good? Or is there merit to accepting AI in its uncensored form, and as a tool whose output is solely defined by its end user? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Alright YouTube, if you're still watching, please let me know if you enjoyed this by liking the video, and if you have any ideas for how I can improve, let me know in the comments below. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.